Oh, there we go. Oh my gosh, this is Welcome, everybody, to the Think Outside podcast brought to you by Baits.com. This is the GSM Fishing Podcast. Today's host is me. I'm Jack Dice. I'm a product development manager here at GSM Fishing. And today's guest is somebody who I've had the pleasure of getting to know as I've kind of climbed the ranks for me is, we're fishing through high school in BFLs and then college and then coming to work to GSM. That I had the chance to fish against this guy, and he's had a heck of a climb, a meteoric rise through the bass fishing world, and he is none other than Tucker Smith. And we were talking to him today about how he got here. So, Tucker, thanks so much for spending some time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, I'm trying to think when I first met you. I know that the year that I was your first year in college, the year that we went to Cumberland in the spring.
Yes, I think so. I think that was my freshman year of college when you won that tournament, right?
Yeah, that's why I think just sliding that in there.
Yeah, I remember that. You were solo too.
I know. That was like the highlight of my college career. So
that was like that's what I remember. I think I remember talking to you at that event. I was like, heck yeah. I was like, good job. And you were like, yeah, I fished solo this week. I was like, dang, son.
my one claim to fame. But you went on and won quite a number of college tournaments. But I kind of want to get just for those who don't know you in your journey, and I there's a lot of it I don't know. Like that's where I first met you. But I don't even know your background fully about how'd you even get started in fishing? Why are you in bass fishing in the first place?
Yeah, so I started off at a really early age. My grandfather, he fished a lot of the red man stuff and all that, and got me into fishing when I was really young. We used to fish the Marks Outdoors tournament every year when I was growing up, and that was a giant tournament they had on the Coosa River, which was like 500 boats of all the best locals and stuff. So that was like my first taste of tournament fishing down in Alabama, and my uncle fishes a lot as well. But I just really got fired up at a young age, going with my grandfather, seeing the tournament aspect, seeing these guys win money fishing was something that I thought was really, really cool. You're able to fish and actually make money doing it too. And yeah, that was how I kind of started, and then ended up going to high school at Briarwood, ended up fishing there with Grayson Morris and Hayden Marbut. Had some awesome fishing partners there. And man, that was when I met Aaron Martins as well. His daughter went to Briarwood too and fished on the fishing team with my cousin Sadie, and got to meet Aaron through that. And it was amazing. He'd come to the bass meetings, talk to us and stuff, and kind of do like seminars for us and all that stuff. And I got to know him through that and became really close friends with him, and ended up blessed to go fishing with him a good bit of times and learn from him a little bit. And man, it's really sad that everything happened the way that it did, and how an amazing person Aaron was, and one of the best fishermen in the world, most natural fisherman I've ever seen. And from then on, I ended up having some success in high school. We won 3 high school national championships, and then
just some. That's just some success. 3, dude. That's crazy. You know how crazy that is, right? 3 times in a row. You only get 4 years of high school anyway. As long as you weren't held back. You only got 4 shots at it, right? Or I mean, how many times did you make all 4 years, or did you just fish the national championship those 3 years that you won?
We qualified my freshman year, so I fished sophomore, junior, senior year. So we fished it 3 times, and yeah, man, it was crazy. I didn't really think about what we were doing at the time. You win a big tournament, it's like, holy crap, this is amazing. And then you look back at it and you're like, wow, we won 3 of those. And
yeah,
it was
that's
just
nuts.
Yeah, it was just a dream come true at that age. And it kind of opened the first doors of sponsorships for me. And going into college, I was trying to find a place that was well centered in the country to travel around a lot, go to a bunch of different places that has some diversity in lakes. And that's why I chose Auburn, because we've got the Chattahoochee River, you've got the Coosa River that's not too far. And you just got so many different river systems all around there. And what's really cool is, you've got your Lake Martins, you've got your Clearwater, you've got, your Lake Eufaula, you've got your offshore fishing, you've got current fishing, like there's a couple different pools like Lake Harding and Oliver and some other places that have a lot of current. So it was a really good place to travel and go to school. I got the college lifestyle as well as the fishing team lifestyle, which was something I really wanted to have. And and another thing that was really cool is being a part of that team. It was kind of just like we were all brothers traveling around to all these tournaments. We didn't have a fishing coach, so everything was student led. So it was kind of a really tight brotherhood of guys that just like to go out and fish and have fun. And that was a blast. I was able to win collegiate bass national championship with Hayden, and then Logan Parks. I fished with him as well, and we were able to win several tournaments. It was awesome. Saginaw Bay, we got first 1 year, second 1 year, and team of the year our first year fishing together. And then me and Hayden, my senior year, ended up winning the Bassmaster College National Championship on Pickwick. So, man, it was a blessing to be able to fish in college, and came up short 2 times in the college classic bracket to second place. So almost made the classic twice in college and came up short. So I've really been wanting to make that tournament.
Yeah, so it does feel like weirdly overdue. Like this is your rookie year, and yet, oh, you're finally gonna make a classic. I hadn't even thought about that. So
Yeah, it's something that I've wanted to fish for a long time, and now finally being able to qualify for that tournament is a dream come true. I think it's a giant milestone for me, something that I've wanted to achieve for a long time. I also fished through all 9 opens last year and qualified for the Elite Series, and had 2 second place finishes in the opens last year. So missed the classic twice by those two. So it's really relieving and a sweet feeling that I finally was able to qualify this year through the Elite Series and make the classic.
yeah, that's. I mean, it's weirdly overdue. I was thinking about that too. So yeah, you've for all the winning you've done, you've had your fair share of bridesmaids finishes. But there's a like I want to go back to a guy who I think of for bridesmaids finishes in the classic is Aaron, and so like how I just that is an insane, like, I mean, he's one of the greatest fishermen who's ever lived. So just want to go back to that a little bit. How old were you when you met him?
Man, I think I was probably about, I would say 16, 15, 16, somewhere in there. So I was young. I think, no, it had to have been before that. It had to have been like 14 or something like that, because 15. Because I remember when I ended up having a football accident and snapped my leg in half. And that's what really got me into fishing. And you try not to laugh.
I know. What the heck? What'd you do?
In football, I was in 8th grade, and it was just like a weird coincidence of I was getting tackled and my leg was planted in the ground with my cleats, and somebody came on side swipe with their helmet, and it like completely like broke my leg in half. And it
Ooh.
was a traumatic experience, like a year recovery. I had to get like rushed to the ER and had to get plates and like 30 something screws in my leg. And it was
Jeez.
like, it was um, a really bad break. And so that kind of, at that time, I was just sitting in like the hospital bed. I had a whole like hospital bed downstairs in my house because I couldn't even go up the stairs. I was in a wheelchair I was in my bed for like 3 months, a wheelchair for 3 months, a scooter for 3 months, crutches
Wow.
for 3 months. Like, it was nuts. And so honestly, it kind of set me back and gave me like kind of a reset. So like whenever I got out of that chair, that wheelchair and that cast, I was ready to go fishing. But at that time, that's when I met Aaron too, and it even fired me up more, being in that position and seeing Aaron and getting to talk to him. I think that really just drove me. When I get out of this, I'm gonna fire at this and go all that I can fishing, and try to become the best that I can. And yeah, it's been an awesome road.
So at that point did you already know this is something? There's a lot of people who love to fish, and there's people who love to tournament fish, but like, at what point did this switch flip? Like, yeah, I want to be a professional bass fisherman. I want to go all the way.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to be a professional angler. That's something that I've always like looked up to over the years, but it wasn't really a reality until college fishing, I would say.
Hmm.
College fishing really, it got me out there traveling the country, going to these different bodies of water that the opens go to and different tournaments go to. And when I started having some success in college, going out there and in my own boat, figuring out those lakes and stuff around the country that set up completely different than places where I'm used to. I think that's kind of the moment where I was like, I might try to make this a reality and try to pursue this for a living. And from then on, I went and fished all the opens and came in third in the points and qualified for the Elite Series. But the opens are some of the most stressful tournaments, which I'm sure it's just the most stressful tournaments ever. You've got a lot of boats on the water. Um, and, when I fished them last year, we had 5 days of practice. So a lot of the
Too
fish
much practice, bro.
oh, I mean, it's a lot of practice. By the tournament, everything changes. The fish change their behaviors and change where they're at. And you have to refigure them out during the tournament. And that's something that I learned, especially over the opens the last year, is figuring out the fish in their exact time. And after practice, you're having to adjust throughout the tournament. That's the biggest thing is those fish are always changing. They're always adapting. They're always going to a different bite. And if you can be one step ahead and figure out where they're headed to, that's a lot of times when you have your best tournaments. And yeah, I think that it's been a crazy ride, but I was able to qualify through the opens and then make the elites this year, and I've had a better year than I could have ever asked for. So it's been a blessing.
Well, you said that the opens were stressful, and I remember, I remember we were at Martin the last one, and you're sitting well in the points, and you got to have a good event to qualify. And I saw you, I think it was before the first morning, and I asked how you were feeling, and you were like, "Dude, I'm nervous."
Yeah.
But just being honest, like as someone who's watched you, because you've been on plenty of live, because you've caught a lot of bass over even for how young you are, you, on average, you don't come across very nervous. Do you feel like on average you're generally calm, or do you think you just keep it all under the surface?
Yeah, no, I usually stay pretty calm, and I think that's something that's helped me over the years. Is I try to just, for some reason, when I get out there on the water and I get on the boat, I kind of forget about everything, and it's kind of like it's kind of like my happy place, honestly. Like getting on the boat and being on the water, it's just everything kind of vanishes, and all I think about is catching fish. So that's why I enjoy it so much, um, and yeah, like I was saying, it's stressful. Tournaments are, you've got stress, especially going into a big tournament before blast off. But as soon as that boat blasts off, man, I everything kind of leaves my head, and I just focus on fishing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Do you feel that stress during the tournaments ever? Does it ever get to you while you're on the water in those big moments, or like coming into this last event last year, whether you're trying to qualify for the elites or like at this last event, I gotta have a good event to win ROI. Does that ever cross your mind while you're out there?
It does. But I know in my head, and what I've tried to tell myself is, if you keep moving and if you keep putting yourself around good areas that look good and set up right and have the right ingredients, you're going to run across them in an 8 hour span of time, whether that be you catch them or you don't catch them. If you keep moving around, you keep bouncing around and hitting a bunch of areas, eventually you're going to run across some fish that if you're able to catch, you're going to do well in the tournament. And that's kind of my mindset that I've had, is always keep looking for the next bite. Don't get comfortable. Um, always keep moving because you might find the winning spot your next stop. So I try not to get too stressed. I mean, heck, I've lost some really good fish this season, last season, and everybody loses fish, but I think having those moments where you lose fish and have some, kind of stressful times in a tournament, I think getting used to that by fishing a lot of events, it really helps you calm down. And, well, I just lost that one, but that means there's more in the area, or I can go run over here and hit this that sets up the same and maybe get another bite the same. So you kind of use it in that aspect of not getting too worked up about it and keep rolling.
So you're saying that that's mostly an experience thing? Like, so for guys who fish tournaments and they let, you feel that anxiety of, oh my gosh, it's 12 o'clock. I've only got one fish in the live well. Like
Yeah.
for you, was that more a natural thing to just be like, no, I'm all chill, or or is it just through doing it over and over again?
I would say trusting. One of the biggest things that I've learned this year too, with that being said, is running your gut instinct.
Hmm.
That's something that this last tournament on the elites, in La Crosse, when it was the second day and I was in a good position to win Rookie of the Year. It was 12 o'clock in the middle of the day, and I had a gut decision to run to a place that I had a couple keeper bites and practice on in a different pool. And I literally looked to my marshal at 12 o'clock and I said, "Hey, this is either going to be really stupid or this is going to be really awesome, but I've got a gut decision to make this run that's 25 miles away and try to fill out my limit and catch a couple nice ones, man." And I ran all the way there. I locked. I mean, there's barges coming throughout the day, and it's very sketchy.
Very
And
sketchy.
this was when Rookie of the Year was going to be announced. I could have got stuck in the lock and zeroed or whatever, and I ended up running up there. I pulled up to my place. I caught number 4. I caught number 5, and ended up not getting many bites. I ended up looking around the same area, and that sand drop, I was kind of fishing the edge of it, and I ended up scooting up a little bit where that sand drop kind of mixed with that eelgrass, and man, there was fish like maybe 50 to 75 smallmouth sitting in this one area. And
Dang.
I picked up a topwater and made 10 casts, 5 to 10 casts, and caught 15 pounds. It was like 3 pounder, 3 pounder, 3 pounder. And then I ended up running back to pool 8 and ended up winning Rookie of the Year. So, I mean, that's just those gut decisions like that it's just hard to do in big events, but it's something that I've over time have tried to get used to more, is running off my gut instinct, because if it works out in the long run and you trust your gut and you may end up making a right decision, it could win you the tournament or win you a title.
So in the past, were there tournaments where you didn't felt like you were too, nervous or didn't make that decision, didn't trust your gut, and it burned you?
I would say so. I would definitely say so. I mean, especially like if you find a good area, being stubborn, sitting in that area, I feel like I've wasted a lot of time in the past.
Mm.
And even in the opens last year, I can think of times like where I, stayed in an area too long thinking that it would produce, and when I should have been moving around looking for more places and more active fish. And yeah, I mean, it's something that I think is the biggest thing in fishing, which is your mental game, and that's the part that I've tried to dial in the most these last couple of years.
So yeah, that mental side, it's interesting to me. Like to me, you personify kind of this new archetype of fisherman. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on. So like I look around, it's a lot of the guys who've been successful, guys in your class. Your roommate Paul Marks. I look at guys like classic champion Easton Fothergill. I look at um, a number of guys. I look at guys like Banks Shaw coming up through the invitationals. These guys that really just don't seem to get rattled. Like you guys don't seem like you all to me are similar in that you're just calm, cool, collected on the water. And so like it seems like of course you're all different fishermen, different styles, but that seems to be a common thread across a lot of fishermen who are starting to make it in this game.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, if you can keep your nerves down and you can, kind of just focus on the fishing, it ends up doing a lot better than being stressed out, obviously. But that's another thing that I've done this year is not look at the points. That's
Hmm.
something that I see a lot of people do, and I'll look at them sometimes, but it's really important not to pay too much attention to the points. I'd say it's more crucial to just go fishing, pay attention to what's going on in the lake, not get your stress level too high on points and everything like that. You just need to. You're against the fish. You're not against the other. I mean, you're against the other anglers, but all in all, you're against those fish. And if you can just focus on that, I think you end up doing a lot better.
So, like, again, you've learned that through doing a lot of tournaments, but was there anything that going back to that Aaron Martin specifically taught you, or that things that you learned from him that you've carried forward into this all the way, to this career in the Elite Series?
Definitely, I would say have fun is the biggest thing. Like I was saying, fishing can be stressful, but we get to fish and fish tournaments, and it's just fun, man. Like being out there on the boat, it's just a good time. We could be doing a lot worse things, and to be out there on the water, it's just a fun time. You get to enjoy nature and everything, and I don't know. I just love bass fishing, just being out there, and that was one thing as well. He taught me is just not getting too worked up about things. Lost fish, everybody loses fish. Um, but just rolling with the punches, not letting the small things get in the way, and just keep grinding and putting as much time as you can. I would say, um, I mean, Aaron used to fish all the time, almost every
Mm.
single day as well, um, just everywhere. He lived in Leeds and Logan Martin Lay Lake. I mean, he'd go almost every day, and so I think I got that, kind of after him as well, just fishing all the time, fishing, trying to fish as much as I can. Um, I would say electronics, especially
Mm.
paying attention to my electronics, my side scan, I would say is the biggest thing that I learned from him. Paying attention to your side scan, mapping, another thing that I learned from him with how crucial mapping is, and contour lines, and just like different stuff like that you need to pay attention to. I would say graphing and practice is something that I learned a lot from him. That's something that I do, especially in tournaments where an offshore bite is generally what you're going to be doing. I would say, at least half of my practice behind my side scan and my map, and just looking for any places that could hold a bass and a good ambush point, a school, a hard spot, brush pile, just anything that I think they could hold a bass, even if it doesn't have a bass on it that day. I might even come back to it in the tournament, just thinking that one might set up with the conditions that are present. So yeah.
So, I mean, was that stuff that, like, being in the boat with him, he could show you how to interpret side scan? Because there's a lot of people that, okay, yes, I know to look at side scan, but is it just the minute? There's guys I've been in the boat with who see things that other people don't, and on that technology, was that something that Aaron could teach you? Actually, like, hey, you could look at it and he could show you this is what you're not seeing.
Um, I mean, not really. I wasn't able to go with him, you know, a ton of times. We never
Mm.
really went offshore like ledge fishing or anything like that where you're finding schools. Definitely like looking at, rocks and like stuff like that and trees and stuff like that. I was able to learn from him, but I was really young as well. The majority of what he was telling me and what I learned from him was just the importance of spending your time with it and learning it yourself.
Mm.
And so that's what I've kind of taken from that.
So I also wanted to ask, Aaron always, seemed like this incredibly, like, a pretty high level, analytical, thorough, detail oriented fisherman. So I've heard a couple guys say that Drew Gill, they say, oh man, Drew's like a young Aaron. Like, you actually spent time with both of them. Would you say, is there any similarities between Drew Gill and Aaron?
Yeah, definitely. They're both quirky and just make noises. Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I could see the resemblance. But that's another thing. Like, I don't get like, I get specific with it, but I don't get as specific as those guys.
Mm-hmm.
I keep it more, I keep it more kind of straightforward. I say the smallest line I go down to is about 10-pound tests. I would say before, like the last couple of years, the smallest line I went down to is 12. Like, I don't ever really throw a super light line. If one of my tails on my minnow is like a little bit crooked, I'll probably still throw it. Like I'm just like, I pay attention to the details when it's important, but I think the most important thing is just putting yourself around fish that are active. Um, so yeah, I mean, I would definitely say that when it comes to certain techniques, I'm very particular about the way that I do it, the way that I present my baits, boat positioning, and everything. But I would also say um, that I'm not as intricate in super detail as some of those guys.
Well, I mean, what you do clearly works because you've had plenty of success. So, but I was thinking, so I guess going to digging into that, you've I was thinking back to this tournament earlier this year. Like you won on Fork, but you won on Champlain, and to my knowledge, that was your first time there. And I remember when we had a GSM shoot a couple of years ago. I think early. I mean, maybe it's just last year. I can't remember now, but where we went to that little lake in Texas.
Yeah.
And we all went out throughout the day, and we had Drew was there, Robert G. We were all out, and we're just there to get content primarily, just put some fish in the boat for that. And
Yeah.
so like we all went out and we'd come back with some fish to do some videos, and I think it was there was like the fishing was okay. People were like, oh yeah, I caught a few. But you were the guy when you came back, you're like, dude, I found a megawatt. There were hundreds of bass there. And we were only there for like this much time. So so when I think about that and then like you winning on Champlain, you go to places you've never been and you seem to find the winning fish, the fish that win tournaments. How can people, if they want to follow in your footsteps, how can people find winning fish on their lakes?
Man, I would say that's something that I've enjoyed is going to new places, and I feel like I always do better when I go to new places. I don't know if it's getting history in my head. I think the biggest thing is not running history. That was one thing that helped me this year. I think is because when I sold my boat last year, I forgot to get all my waypoints off my last boat. So my old boat has all my waypoints on it. I have no waypoints on my graph of anything for this year. Uh,
Wow.
for last year for the opens. I didn't have any waypoints at La Crosse, St. Clair, anything like that. So I went into it with an open mind. I went into it with this is a new lake. I'm breaking it down in a new time of year. And I think that's helped me the most is just going to a place, breaking down the bite window at that exact moment and seeing how it's going to change over the week. Because if you get stuck in history running places that you've caught them in the past, I mean, I would say 80% of the time they're not going to be in those same areas, just with water level, water clarity, temperature, all that stuff. Um, so yeah, I would say the biggest thing is time on the water. Um, don't get too wrapped up in history. Go fish new places, go try new patterns. Always, keep your arsenal open with different baits, and then yeah, just run a ton of water. I keep
So
my
when
motor
you're
on 10 the whole time. I'm in practice or tournament. I keep it on 10, looking for as much stuff as I can.
so in both in practice and the tournament, you're going full out the whole time.
Yep.
Are you trying to, do you generally find yourself, so like, I think of different anglers that I think of like a Brian Thrift, who was, really famous for run and gun. He hits 100, pull up the trolling motor, make as many single good casts in a day. And then I think there's a lot of guys who find success like, hey, I'm just trying to find an area that has a big population and I might catch one on a laydown. I might catch one on a dock. I might catch one on a brush pile. Do you find that you lean in one of those camps or does it just depend on the fishery?
I think it depends on the fishery. Like, I find myself doing both of those. If it's like a run and gun type of place and, they're not really grouped up. But if I find a really good spot or a good area, I'll sit there and catch them. But it depends. It just depends on the place. Like, if that's another thing too is um, these lakes, they change so much that, especially in these elite series tournaments, the opens, for example, these fishermen are so good that you have to catch as much as you can every day, and you don't really need to save anything because everything's changing every day. I mean, there's even at La Crosse the first day, I had one place that was really good. I caught 14 pounds, and I ended up, kind of leaving it a little bit earlier than I wanted to. But I was like, hey, if I come back here, I could probably catch a limit first thing, and then I could go fishing for the rest of, the day and find some more fish. But that place ended up being terrible the second day. So that's just how it goes. Or, somebody may be fishing that area the second day and you can't fish it or whatever. So that's what I've also learned is fish as hard as you can, catch as much weight as you can every day, because the fish are going to change anyway, and you might as well just catch as much as you can.
So what do you believe are the biggest factors and why is it that fish change? Is it pressure that changes them? Is it weather conditions? Like, can you even put your finger on what it is that makes them change day to day like that?
It's pressure. It's boat noise. I saw an article the other day that said a boat motor running over a fish's head increases the fish's heart rate for up to 40 minutes. So that fish for 40 minutes is freaking out and probably not going to eat anything. And you have to let that fish reset after 40 minutes and come back and get it, or come back and have a chance to catch him. Um, so, I mean, there's a lot of different things. But yeah, I think it's just fish pressure. I think changing conditions, like especially at La Crosse, water level was a big thing for us. Water was rising and it was dropping, which changes the whole fish. It changes the current seams of the river, which I thought was very interesting, because with the water coming up, you would think to go shallower, but the current seams were actually moving deeper when the water was rising, which I thought was very interesting. So I actually had to move out a little bit deeper to catch those fish. And that was something that I had to learn in the tournament. It's just small stuff like that that you learn over time, which really helps out.
So how do you prepare, like, going back to like last year when you qualified through the opens, or even now that you're in the elites, especially I think of the opens because it was 5 days of practice. It's 250 boats for 5 days plus three. Like, how do you prepare for that change? Like, again, at some point, if you believe, oh, the fish are just going to change, how do you even practice for that?
Yeah, I would definitely say it depends on where you're at. Like, for instance, Leech Lake. I was catching those fish last year in practice on boulders that were 15 to 20 foot, 15 to, or I would say 12 to 18 foot was the majority of the rocks I was fishing. And by practice, all those fish were completely pressured. You could hardly catch one off of a boulder in 15 to 18 foot of water. And so by the tournament, I ran all that stuff, saw that it wasn't working out. I fished it hard, ended up scratching up 15 pounds the first day. And I was like, this isn't going to work. Those fish are moving. They moved somewhere. They didn't all get caught. Like, there's still fish there, but they're somewhere close by, but they're not in the same areas that they were. So the next day, I went to the same areas, but I decided to go a little bit shallower. I went in that 8 to 12 foot range, and I ended up catching I think it was 19 or almost 20 pounds the second day. And just that small adjustment to move a little bit shallower, because those fish are getting pressured out deeper. I moved a little bit shallower and ended up catching those same fish, but they just slid up in water depth because they were getting pressured in that 15 to 18 foot range.
So then, yeah, going back to practice, in general, do you find, like, when a successful practice for you is that, hey, I found a zone, a region where it's going down this week, so that, hey, I'm catching them in this zone on this type of cover in this depth. And for example, Leech Lake, I'm catching them in boulders in this area. Then that gives you the option that in the tournament, you expand in that area before you go somewhere else, or is it just literally spots, but like you'll run anywhere as long as you got a bite there?
Yeah, I would say kind of both. But realistically, honestly, like, seeing an area, like getting some bites in an area, is a good sign in practice. I'm not really trying to dial in exactly the specific bite that they're on as much in practice as I am the tournament. I use the tournament as practice as well, but more so of how to make them bite. In practice, I'm really trying to find where that majority of the population of fish is, and then in the tournament, throughout the tournament and the conditions, I'm adjusting to to the weather, to the watercolor and all that to actually catch those fish. So I've tried to use practice as more of find a population of fish, find where the majority is, find where those bigger fish are, and then the tournament I'm adjusting to catch those fish.
So, gotcha. And that's just, I was gonna say, well, I guess my question is, how did you do you learn that over? I would assume, you're talking about learning that over time, but I'm thinking back to you. I mean, you went back in high school, you won 3 national championships in high school, then you went to college and you won, and then you've gone to the elites and you won an event on Fort. So like you've won the whole time. So like was that something that do you feel that there's like a level of that's just you were born with, or like how much of it is learned versus just who you are?
I don't know, man. I I just fish all the time. I think it's honestly just time on the water, and I also don't get satisfied like with anything, with any tournaments. Like if I you know have a good tournament, or if I win a tournament, I'm always trying to look for the next tournament. I'm not trying to kind of sit and look at the past and say, hey, this was. I mean, obviously enjoy the tournament after winning one, but like it's getting stuck in the past is the worst thing you can do. I've always tried to look to the future, look for what's the next opportunity to do good in a tournament, what's the next tournament, what research, what preparation could I be putting in right now to better myself for the next tournament. I always try to look for that next thing and never get satisfied with anything, because just like Rick Clunn said, like your greatest moments are never in the past. So
True. So did you I know you're going back, so I guess for someone who's like as an outsider looking in, like, or as someone who's watched your career, you're one of those guys that like when the opens back when you qualified last year, when you was the hey you were going to sign up for all 9 and try to make it. You were one of those, okay, there's 9 spots. In my mind, I was like, yeah, Tucker's one, you can cross it out. There's going to be 8. So like I know like I'm saying it. You don't have to say it. That's how you've been this guy who's been written in the Bass Fishing Stars from my perspective. Like that, yeah, he's going to make it. But does it feel that way for you? Like did you feel like yes, or at what point maybe you haven't hit it yet that you felt like I'm gonna make it as a pro fisherman?
no, no, I still like don't feel it like that. I always just, I don't know. I mean, we've had definitely a successful season this year, but I'm like I said, I'm just looking forward to the rest of the year and fishing tournaments next year. Like I try to be humble and not, I never try to be boastful about anything, and I've just never thought like that. I just enjoy it, man. Like I've had some bad tournaments, I've had some good tournaments, but I just love it so much, and it's all I do. It's all I think about, and it's just enjoyable for me to just go out there. If I wasn't making money and doing it for a living, I would still do it all the time and work a 9 to 5. I just can't live without fishing.
So again, you're very humble about it, but so maybe you haven't even thought about it this way, but I'm just curious, what do you think? Like you've had, again, relative to your peers, you've had an incredible amount of success and I mean, you won Rookie of the Year. You bested, I mean, your house is full of champions. Loberg's won multiple Toyota Series. Emil and Paul are both All-American champions. I mean, you had a classic champion in your rookie class, and you won Rookie of the Year. You were on top. So, like, what do you think separates you? What do you think makes you more successful than other anglers on the water?
I don't know. I think
I know, like I'm again, you probably don't even you just operate, but I just
I'm
want
just
curious if you ever thought about it. Like, what do you actually think are you doing differently?
I think it's just, I don't know, man. I think it's just the drive to fish. I think it's just the drive to do well. I think it's just putting my head down, like I was saying, when I get out there on the boat, like I don't think about anything but fishing. I don't have any other distractions. And so I think it's just a mixture of, man, I just been putting so much time on the water. I've been to all these places. Like I've traveled the country. I'm more in a groove now than I ever have been. you learn and learn over the years. You learn in high school, you learn in college, and then you get to the opens, you learn more. You travel, you learn about different places to fish, and you travel these different bodies of water. Then I got to the Elite Series, and I'm still getting used to it. It's a big change, and once you get adjusted to that change, you start rolling. And I think that's what started happening at the end of this year. I got used to the patterns and ended up starting rolling a little bit more with the Elite tournaments, um, and yeah, I think just getting in that zone. It's weird. Like when I get in a tournament, I hardly talk to anybody. Like when I'm in a tournament throughout that weekend, I'm barely on my phone. Um, I'm it's weird. Like it's hard to explain. Like when I get in that mode of tournament fishing, everything just kind of is cut off, and I just kind of focus. And it's something that I can't do in anything else. It's like I have ADD with everything else, but when it comes to tournament fishing, I feel like I can just kind of shut my mind off, have that kind of tunnel vision, and just try to focus just on that. And I might not do good, I might do good. It just it depends, but I've always just tried to tune everything out and just think about fishing solely. And I think it's helped me out in the long run.
I mean, no doubt. And then you traveled all. You talk about learning all of these different places and building those reps. You fished a lot of places, fished a lot of conditions that require a lot of different techniques. But is there like for people like when they think of you, like what techniques are you strongest at? Like when do you feel most confident fishing?
I would say I would say that's something that I've gotten a lot better with over the years, is being able to kind of diversify my arsenals. Um, I would say I'm definitely confident with the offshore game. That's something that I spend a lot of time doing, a lot of offshore, schools or floating fish. Um, I would say, you know, that kind of style I'm pretty good at. And then as well as I grew up fishing shallow. I grew up swimming a jig. I'm really confident with a swim jig in my hand. Like at the Pasquotank River, that's what I caught all my fish on. Several tournaments that I fished back at home, I've done really well on a swim jig and stuff like that. Like my key confidence baits that I've got. A chatterbait is something that I've always had in my arsenal to catch fish, a topwater, something that I've grown up throwing my whole life. And I think one of the biggest things too is like, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, is that early on. Oh, I got a phone call. Those early on, like fundamentals of fishing, kind of paired with that newer technology, those things combined, I think, is what's been helping me the most recently. You've got places like La Crosse, Wisconsin, where you've got current, you've got flipping, you've got frog fishing, you've got everything like that. Current breaks. I grew up on the Coosa, and we fished a lot of current breaks. We fish a lot of, we flip a lot, jigs. We throw a lot of swim jigs. We throw a lot of frogs. And I think just like having that, plus the new technology, and then being able to put those together, I think that's what's helped me out a lot this year.
So, were there any moments in your quest to get ROI? Were there any key moments that, looking back, that swung it one way or another that were able to put you over the top? Any particular tournaments?
Definitely St. Clair. I would say a top 10 there was huge for me. I was sitting, I think, like 24th or something in the overall points, and I was in second to Paul by like 50 something points in AOY, or Rookie of the Year. And so I knew I needed to catch him. I actually looked at my camera guy Hudson, and I said, I'm going to need 2 top 10s if I want to win Rookie of the Year, and if I want to win, or if I want to make the top 10 in AOY, like overall. And so ended up going to St. Clair. I was very blessed on day 2 and dropped the biggest bag of the tournament, 26 something. And
That's crazy for there. That's
yeah,
nuts.
like 26-2, and it was nuts, man. I've never had a day like that at St. Clair in my life, and they were all over 5 pounds on my scale. And I was like, that set me up. It kind of pushed me into Championship Sunday. That bag kind of pushed me into the championship day, and I was able to get a top 10 there. And then at this last tournament, I ended up closing my gap in Rookie of the Year from 50 something points to 8 points. So I knew that if I really needed a good finish, I knew that Paul had a top 10 at Lacrosse last year in the Opens. So I was definitely, on edge. I was like, it might happen, it might not happen, but I'm just going to go out there and fish and let the cards fall where they fall. And ended up, making that key move day 2 and to that place that I had some bites in practice, and ended up catching a nice bag. And that area ultimately, led me to fish the championship Sunday. So ended up getting another top 10 there and moved myself from, I think it was 14th in overall AOY to 9th in final AOY, and then Rookie of the Year first place. So it was just a dream season, and I think it helped me being kind of set back a little bit, having that drive to try to win. I think it's a lot harder being in first place, trying to maintain the lead. I think coming from behind really helps out. So it was a blessing.
So what's next for you? I mean, you've already got an elite win in your first go. You got ROI. I mean, what's next for you? Do you set goals of like, hey, this is what I want to achieve next?
I do. I do set goals, but I'm really just looking forward to, I've got the EQs. I'm going to fish 2 of those. I'm going to fish Wheeler and Champlain. I'm going to stay out of everybody's way and just go out there and have fun. And then I'm going to fish the Toyota Series Championship on Grand Lake. That one's going to be a good one. I'm going to fish the Ultimate Angler Championship on Gunnersville this year. And then I think I'm going to fish the Dual Threat fishing, which is like that nice trail next year with Hayden. And then I'm going to fish just the next Elite Series season. And I'm really pumped up for the Classic. That's going to be sick. But yeah, man, I'm just excited to just fish tournaments. I just like going fishing. I'm excited for this winter on the Coosa River when it gets cold and these big spots start biting. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've seen your photo over the off season. You catch plenty of big ones in the off season. So, fun. Thanks for the time, Tucker. I mean, we'll be looking. I guess the only thing left for you to win is the Classic and AOY. So, and you'll already have swept an Elite Series career. So I'll be pulling for you in Knoxville. But is there anywhere people can follow you if they want to keep up with your journey?
Yeah, my Instagram's just Tucker Smith Fishing. I've got a Facebook. It's Tucker Smith. It's basically all the same stuff that's on my Instagram. Mostly run off my Instagram, and then my YouTube. I've got a new YouTube series that followed my whole Elite Series season this year. Kind of showing the road of how it's like being an Elite Series guy as a rookie, traveling with the roommates. We call ourselves the Surge Squad. So all 4 of us traveling around fishing these tournaments. It's been a lot of fun. And then it's just Tucker Smith Fishing is my YouTube. And then I've got a TikTok too, but I would say the majority of the stuff that I do is on YouTube and Instagram. So you can follow me there.
Yeah, your YouTube, it's really, the production's really well done. So if you guys are looking for some good fishing content, you can check it out. But thanks for the time, Tucker. Thank you for listening to the Think Outside podcast, and we will see you next time.
Oh, there we go.